Alright, in this question, Abby is graphing the quadratic equation y equals negative x squared plus 2x plus 1, where y represents the height of a ball thrown in the air, and x represents the time in seconds since the ball was thrown. We need to determine the appropriate labels and scales for the graph. Select the best label and scale for the x and y, so one of each basically. Well, to do this, when you think about a quadratic equation, the most important point to keep in mind is that vertex, because that's going to determine how low, right, if that's a very, very low vertex, or it's also going to determine how high the graph needs to go. Okay, so the first thing you might want to do is find the vertex. Well, remember, the vertex of any quadratic function, we could call it h comma k, can be found using h equals negative b over 2a. That's our formula. Well, in this case, a would be the number in front of the x squared. In this case, there's a negative, so you can think it's negative 1. A equals negative 1. B is the number in front of the x by itself, so b is 2. And so let's calculate here. Negative 2 divided by 2 times negative 1 as a is negative 2 divided by negative 2, which is just 1. So your vertex point has an x value, or an h of 1. To find the y value, or the k, you just need to plug that vertex x value into the original equation. Let's do that real quick. Y equals negative, and instead of x squared, I'm going to put negative 1 squared plus 2 times 1 plus 1. Let's solve. Well, 1 squared comes before the negative. Okay, remember your order of operations. 1 squared is just 1, so I have negative 1 plus 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1. This comes out to be negative 1 plus 2 is just 1 plus 1. So that's a total of 2. So 2, 1 comma 2 is my vertex. All right, so what does that tell me? It tells me that it reaches a maximum or a minimum at 1 comma 2. And if you look at the original equation one more time, you'll notice that the a value is negative. That means we have a concave down graph. So the graph might be something like this, where the maximum height, the vertex, is 1 comma 2, but it's concave down. So let's look at our answers for the scales now and see what works. A, x-axis label, time in seconds, scale from negative 4 to 6. The other option is scale from negative 10 to positive 10. Well, the vertex is 2, so it's not actually going very far. It's not way out wide. So actually, I think A might be our better bet here. It's kind of zoomed in on that. We'll cross off B. Then for C, you have x-axis label from negative 12 to 5. That doesn't quite work either because you're shifting the graph a little bit to the left, right? You don't need to go negative 12 that far over there. I'm going to cross that out. And then for y-axis label, well, negative 12 to 5 is actually really good because most of it's way down, right? It's way down on the graph. You don't need to see too far up on the y-axis. So negative 12 is good. It stretches down there. So my answers here would be A and D.